So whether you believe that Jesus was a tantric master or not, the reality is that he was one based on his techniques and tools. So now, whether you want to argue whether he was sexual or not, I wasn't there, I don't know. But what's interesting is that the tantric master test is to turn water into wine and to manifest fish and bread to this day in India.
Was that though before Christ left?
It was before Christ left, and it's been after Christ left. So it's still to this day, like you can go to India right now, and that's the test. They'll still be doing that. So he was a master of life force energy, somehow, some way. I don't pretend to be the master, I just think it's an interesting concept to play with. So when we deal with the discs, the earth energy, a lot of people will translate this in a very simplistic form related to money and wealth. But I like to look at this through the dynamic of life force energy. Like, you know, how determined you are at something will build life force energy. So I learned being a ballet dancer that the most talented ballet dancers don't always succeed. It's the ones that have talent mixed with a lot of determination that actually succeed. So I was in a ballet company with a dancer who was far superior to me. I mean, absolutely one of the most amazing dancers I've ever seen in the world. But she didn't have that inner strength, which is disc energy. So when she got to New York and she got all these opportunities, she had a nervous breakdown, because she couldn't hold her grounding in the midst of that kind of energy. She never had to. She never had to learn, because she had so much incredible talent that she never had to really work at something. Whereas I was the opposite. I had talent. I was good, but I still wasn't great. But by gosh, I would practice my 32 fouettes, and I'd do it over and over and over and over, and fall and fall and fall and fall, and do it and do it and do it and do it. So the lessons of the discs are always about determination, because you can be good at anything if you do it enough times. Like we were saying before about you master something when you've done it 10,000 times. The earth plane requires repetition. You have to have muscle memory. You have to know and understand something in great depth. So one of my favorite phrases is that you teach best what you most need to learn. And so as a teacher, I learned more about cards, psychic stuff by teaching than I did on my own, because in teaching it I had to explain it to you, so I had to figure it out on a whole new level based on your awareness and understanding, or why you weren't understanding what I was saying, and so I learned it on a much, much deeper level. But those things are slow and they're messy. So people don't like the earth energy because it's slow, it's tedious, and so there are people that are like, well, I want to do the manifestation thing, and I'm going to do my affirmations. And don't get me wrong, I love affirmations, but affirmations work on one level of awareness. They work on the etheric body. And if you have, I always think of the body like a telescope. You have a physical lens, you have an emotional lens, you have a mental lens, you have an astral lens, you have an etheric lens, you have a spiritual lens. And when you get all those lenses aligned, you get clarity, psychically, intuitively, dreams, information. I mean, and it's amazing. But keeping all those lenses perfectly aligned is really hard to do. And one of the hardest lenses to get in alignment is the physical lens, because the littlest thing can throw you off. So one of the anomalies that you see in the past, we're doing a whole bunch better now, but in the past, a lot of the psychics used to be very heavy. And the reason they were heavy was because they're so out there, they're so living up here, that they needed this big body to kind of ground them in. And also they were protecting their third chakra and their lower chakras, because that's where they're sensing your feminine aspect of God speaks to you through your gut, which is why they call it a gut awareness, an instinct. You get a gut sense about things. This is where the feminine brain lives. So your masculine mind speaks to you through your brain, which is squiggly. Your gut looks squiggly too. So intuitive information is in your intestines, which is really weird. And so, which is why women, because we have periods and we have our moon cycles, we get cramping. We're so aware of this part of our body, right? I mean, every month we're aware of this part of our body. And what I notice as a psychic is that the more I keep my body awake and clear and aligned, the more psychic I am. The more I keep my gut cleaned out and things moving through my gut, the more psychic I am, because I take people's stuff on all day in feeling them. Sometimes in feeling into them, I accidentally pick up some of their stuff. Not that I'm trying to do that, but I'm trying to feel into them without picking their stuff up. But every once in a while, you just get slimed, as I say. You know, somebody's got so much stuff, you get slimed. Well, you have to have a system that knows how to let that go. And how many times as women do we feel like, gosh, I can't let that go. I can't let that resentment go. I can't let that upset go. Well, that's literally in your gut. It's literally in your gut. So you have to figure out ways to do it. Whether that's you take lots of fiber, whether you do cleanses, whether you do exercise, like what is it that you need to do to keep this part of your body moving. So one of the things that I do every morning is I do a meditation where I'm just pumping my gut. You know, I'm just pumping my gut and I'm just doing a mantra at the same time with everyone. And I just go, I count them, you know, so I just kind of go like this with my fingers and I count them. And I try and do a certain number. I do 16 before I take a breath. And so, but I'm pumping this part of my body. And I always have to go to the bathroom right after I do this exercise, okay, because it moves the energy. So I'm giving you examples because it's so important when we're dealing with the discs and the material plane to understand how dense body is. Body is so dense. I don't know if you've ever had a meditation and you were meditating and all of a sudden you couldn't feel your body, or you felt like your arms were floating like this, but you were actually laying on the ground, but you felt like your arms were like this. That's because body is dense. I mean, body is really, really dense, and it's designed to be dense to keep you in it so that you can have these experiences. But we oftentimes don't like our body. It's like, oh, it's not pretty enough, or it's not this enough, or it stinks, or it's getting old, or whatever. And it's a real process of learning to love your body and accept your body and accept the processes of the body. That, you know, you're going to smell sometimes, and you're going to poop lots of times, and you're going to have to breathe, and you're going to have things that upset your tummy and you can't eat anymore, and you're going to have to sleep enough, and sometimes you just have to sleep more than you used to sleep. And, you know, you have to learn to listen to the body awareness. The more you can do that, the more psychic you're going to be and the more intuitive you're going to be, because the body is the #1 thing that will get you jammed up. And it's the #1 way you know you've gotten hit physically. So I had one woman who came in my office, and she literally walked in the room and her energy just sucked all the air out of the room. It's like all the air went out of the room. And I know now, because I've done this for so long, that means somebody died. And when that much air gets sucked out, it was more than one person. And I said, how many people died? And she said, 8. 8 people had died in 1 month in her family. And she was grieving so much. And so literally her whole body, her whole energy field was dense. It was just like there was this density that was there, okay? So, and being psychic, if my body's not clear, I won't be able to feel into other people to feel what's going on with their body. Okay, so if I don't have my body awareness enough, because sometimes you'll suddenly think, oh God, is that me? And I've been guilty of that a lot. It's like I'm fine, and then suddenly I'm working with somebody and I'm suddenly not fine, and actually who's not fine is them, but I'm picking them up. But if you don't have enough body awareness to go, okay, wait a second, that's not me. No, for sure that's not me, then you'll pick them up. And so you have to have this real body awareness. So the Ace of Discs is that place of really getting you to pay attention to what is it you desire, what is it you want. Know that when you say I want something, there's going to be some big physical lessons associated with that. So the other thing to look at with this card is that it looks like tree trunks that have been sliced in half, and they're like rings on a tree, and yet there are these emerald green wings of flight and change and transformation. So all of that's really beautiful at the same time, but this is an intense card. So this is the card of dazzlement. When somebody gets this card, they're being bedazzled by something, okay? They're like, oh yeah, I really want that. And that could be a person. That could be sex, that could be love, that could be money, that could be a job, that could be a career, that could be psychic skill, that could be absolutely anything, but it's that I want desire coming forward. Okay, so then if you go to the next card, oh, and the Ace of Discs again represents spring, so it's green and it's that spring green, so that always represents the timing of spring. The Two of Discs is the change card. So when you say I want, immediately you realize, of course, that things in your life are going to have to change, right? So you say I want, and then, oh, I want to write my book. Oh, I'm going to have to reschedule things. I'm going to have to rearrange my life. I'm going to have to learn to not pick up the phone. I'm going to have to, you're going to have to rearrange things. I'm going to have to say, oh, I'm going to write at a certain time of the day. So you have to make changes. So anytime you have a desire, that desire is going to force you to make modifications in your life. So if you look at the change card, what you've got is a yin and a yang, and you've got that balance between the masculine and feminine. And this is the snake Ophion, and again, he's clamped down on his tail. So there's easy times to change and there's difficult times to change. If you're trying to break the snake right in the middle, you can imagine that's going to be a difficult time to change. If you're right at the point where the snake is holding its tail, it's really easy to let go of the tail and reconfigure the reality. So this card is indicating that it's a good time to change. So now's the time, seize the day. You want to make that change. You've got Jupiter, the planet of expansion, money, and abundance, in Capricorn. Capricorn is this very financially stable, determined, slightly melancholic sign. So Capricorns really work hard. They work really, really hard. Capricorns can be one of the most successful signs in the zodiac. So if you're willing to change, abundance happens even if it's hard work. So did you ever notice that I have my dream of writing the book, but it was amazing once I made that decision and said I want, and I was willing to make the change, it actually wasn't that hard. But all the way up to the point of saying, okay, I really do want this, it was like, I can't do this, da 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 da. Like choice is everything. So in the physical plane, it's like choose or don't choose. As the Nike commercial says, just do it. So when you're in the physical plane, it's like, don't wobble, don't waffle, choose or don't choose. Don't sit on the fence. It's like Yoda, you know, it's like when he's trying to teach him how to lift the plane. And so you have to choose. You have to, you know, it's only heavy in your mind. Okay, just choose that it's not heavy in your mind and it won't be heavy. But that place of not choosing, not being willing to change is miserable. So my motto for my life is to say yes to everything. So I have this motto, and I say yes to everything. Anybody comes in and they go, oh, you know, do you want to do this? I go, yes. I just go, yes, that sounds really great. And then I let the universe sort it out. Because if it is what I'm supposed to do, it'll all fall together really effortlessly from that point. If it's actually not mine to do, it won't work at all. So I've had plenty of people come up to me in my life and say, oh, you know, I want to do this project with you. I want to create a healing center with you. And I'm like, yes. And then I wait. Because I'm willing, I'm saying yes to the change, I'm willing to make the change. If it's truly what my purpose is, it will naturally open. If it's not my purpose, it will not happen. And you'd be amazed how often it doesn't happen. Okay, but I'm willing, you know, and notice there's a difference between willingness and me trying to do everything. Okay, so, and if it is totally my own thing, like my books, I have to do everything. But if it's a thing with a group of people, I say, this is what I want, which is the ace. I'm willing to make a change and say yes, and who wants to play with me? And then it's amazing how often in the physical plane people don't show up. Because they don't know how to make the change. Because most people are very weak here. And this is where we're all a little weak. I mean, we're all a little bit, I always tease and say Americans in general are a little bit narcissistic because things have been fairly easy for us compared to people that are living in Bangladesh or something, and that they have to really struggle to survive. They have to struggle to put food on their table. So in the earth energy, they're so much stronger than we are, okay, in weird ways. But we are also manifestors, so we are really powerful manifestors, but sometimes we forget the sequence of it. We have so much technology that we forget the part that we have to do ourselves, physically. And so with the change card, just say yes. You know, so when the change card shows up, I go, yes, I'm willing to change. I don't know what that entails, because people go, well, but I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm like, nobody does. I mean, I always set a goal, and at this point I know that what I think that goal is going to look like, it never looks like that. It's the journey that's more important. It's not the end result that you think you're going to get.